When my baby was born, I thought the hardest part would be the sleepless nights, but it turned out the hardest part was something else, trying to figure out what this tiny human was actually trying to tell me. Because newborns can't talk, obviously, but they are communicating all the time. The problem is, in the beginning, it all feels the same. A little cry, a squirm, a funny face, and suddenly you're standing there thinking, okay, are you hungry? Sleepy? Bored? Or is something wrong? I remember those early days when every sound felt like a mystery to solve. I'd run through the checklist in my head: diaper, milk, burp, cuddle. Sometimes I felt like I was guessing on a game show with very high stakes. But here's something I slowly learned, and it completely changed the way I responded to my baby. Newborns are actually very good communicators. They just don't use words. They use their faces, their bodies, their movements, and yes, sometimes crying too. Once you start noticing those little signals, things begin to make a lot more sense. One mistake many new parents make, and I definitely did this, is assuming every cry means something is wrong. We jump straight into problem-solving mode. But babies usually give smaller signals before the big cry even begins. We just don't always recognize them yet. For example, hunger rarely starts with loud crying. Most babies begin with tiny cues. They might turn their head side to side like they're searching for something, open and close their mouth, or start sucking on their hands. It almost looks like they're trying to taste the air. By the time they're crying loudly, they've usually been politely asking for food for a while. Sleep is another interesting one. A sleepy newborn doesn't always just close their eyes like we imagine. Sometimes they start rubbing their eyes, or staring off into space, or suddenly becoming very quiet. Other times they become surprisingly fussy and wiggly, because they're overtired and their little bodies don't quite know how to switch off yet. Then there's the "I want to look around" signal, and this one can actually be quite funny. Some babies start kicking their legs, waving their arms, making curious little noises. It's almost like they're saying, "Okay, I've had enough staring at this ceiling. Can someone give me a better view?" And of course, sometimes the message is simply discomfort. Maybe the diaper is wet. Maybe there's a little gas bubble. Or maybe they just want to be held closer. You'll often see this through their body language first. They might arch their back, pull their legs up, scrunch their face, or squirm in a way that looks very determined for such a tiny person. What helped me the most was realizing that babies don't just send one signal. They send patterns, a certain face, followed by a movement, followed by a sound. Over time, those patterns become familiar, almost like learning a new language, except this language includes a lot of dramatic facial expressions. Once you begin recognizing these patterns, parenting suddenly feels less like guessing and more like understanding. And the beautiful part is that your baby is also learning you at the same time. Every time you respond, feed them, soothe them, or hold them when they're uncomfortable, they slowly start to trust that their signals work, that someone is listening. So instead of focusing only on the cry, it can help to watch the moments before it. The little faces, the wiggly arms, the searching mouth, the sleepy stare. Those tiny signals are often your baby's first way of saying, "Hey, I'm trying to tell you something." And here's the funny part. Once you start noticing these cues, you may actually feel like a baby detective. My partner and I sometimes look at each other and say, "Ah, yes, that was clearly the classic, I'm hungry but also slightly offended about it" face. But every baby is a little different, and part of the journey is learning your baby's unique signals. So now I'm curious, what was the first cue your baby gave that you eventually learned to recognize? Was it a face, a sound, or a funny little movement? Share it in the comments, because a new parent reading your experience might understand their baby just a little bit sooner.